Hi, friends. Joseph Varghese here, rulesforsuccess.com. I've got my buddy, my friend, Kenny Aronoff here today. Kenny is one of the world's most influential in-demand session and live drummers. He's also a speaker. He's a coach. He's a lead. He's a rock star in so many ways. Kenny, Rolling Stone magazine, in fact, cited him as one of the 100 greatest drummers of all time. Modern Drummer named him number one in pop rock drummer and number one studio drummer for 5 consecutive years. The list of artists he's worked with on the road and or in studios reads like a who is who in the music industry. I could go through the list of John Mellencamp, the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Tom Petty, Sting, the Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Gibbons, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Bob Seger. We can go, Bob Dylan. The list goes on and on and on and on. John Legend, my wife from mine love John Legend, Beyonce. But I'll leave it for our audience to just go and find out who this man is. I have a business partner who has gone to about 1,000 concerts, and he's told me like 15% of those concerts, Kenny's been a drummer for one of the bands, which is quite extraordinary. And with a style of playing that combines power and finesse, his unique and versatile sound has been instrumental in over 60 Grammy-nominated or awarded recordings, representing over $300 million in sales, with more than 1,300 that were RIAA certified gold, platinum, or diamond. Kenny's winning approach to drumming and to life has given him the ability to sustain a successful career for over 4 decades. So on our podcast, we're going to go deeper into Kenny's life, what it means to get in the zone, and most importantly, what are Kenny's rules for success. So Kenny, brother, it's great to have you here. Excited to have you here for the next 30 minutes. I understood you just played recently with the Foo Fighters, right?
No, it's Goo Goo Dolls.
Goo Goo Dolls, yeah. Goo Goo Dolls.
I got a call Friday morning. The tour manager texted me, and I thought he wanted to have dinner or something, but he went, "Drummer's got COVID. Can you be at rehearsal at 1 p.m.? Show will fly at 6 tonight, San Jose, private event. Shows tomorrow night, Saturday." And I mean, they went and got I got a double espresso. I said, "Yeah, I can do it. I have a file. Actually, it's still on my desk. I have a file where I played with them in 2014, but I write extremely detailed charts of every song.
Wow.
If you can see that.
Yeah.
Tempos, every bit of information. And I've learned that skill over the years doing Kennedy Center Honors and these big TV shows. That's where my classical world met. I have an education in classical music where that met the rock and roll world and really put me in a different place. So anyway, I said I need exactly the set list that they're performing. I looked and I saw there were 5 songs that I've never even played before, and I knew I had to chart. And I said, be very specific. So they said, we're going to do these 3 new ones. So I started charting like a madman. It takes about 45 minutes to write that out for each song. Then I went downstairs and started practicing. I only could get 8 songs done that I had done before. Race to the rehearsal place, start running through stuff, and I realized the arrangements are different. So I know what my homework is. The bottom line is I understand what is involved to take go from like point A to point B in like 32 hours. I know I've done it, so I know where I'm at. So we rehearse, I fly, make notes, what songs I need to listen to. Next day I wake up, spend from 9:30 to 3 p.m. going on YouTube and making charts of all the new arrangements, tweaking each song, go to sound check. It's not my drums.
Wow.
The drum tech is set the drums up for the other drummer, but I readjust them. We get that sorted out. We talk about how he hits a button. We all have in-ear monitors, but there's click tracks with count offs,
right.
And that I need to be very aware of. Understand the lay of the land, how it works. At the end of sound check, I went and had him run every single count off, and I wrote that on every single chart. Because you see, when it's one thing if you practice a song over and over again, just like a football player practicing one play or a team practicing one play over and over again. But in the game, you're running plays one after another, one after another. I'm aware of that. So what I did is once I wrote the clicks down, I sit on the drums, everyone's eating dinner, but I told the guy, run the first song, and then shuts it off. I start the song, I end the song, it says second song. We just went in sequence. Then I photograph all the charts, put it in an iPad, and I have a foot switch that advances the charts in an iPad. So if it's windy, music's not flying anywhere. And so, yeah, I pulled it
You
off.
are meticulous, my friend, right? And you have to be, right? To be able to show up within 24 hours, to be able to show up at a
Yeah.
show. Got it. Yeah.
Well, that's how, the end game, the North Star is I made it possible for them to honor their commitment for a private party, for the likes of like even Bill Gates was there. It was a very exclusive party. The CEO of Oracle had just passed away and his wife had a party and it was very, very close friends. And so they Google Dolls, with full production. I mean, they had like Google Dolls carried like 20 people with them to make sure everything is right and the party went on. And they appreciate that. There aren't that many people they could call that would be able to pull that off.
Sure, it was a stellar event. They can count on you. You've invested, I'm sure, like 50,000 hours to getting to where you're at.
Oh yeah, at least
4 decades, right? Well, you mentioned North Stars. North Stars. So how do you define? Like I've got a compass behind me. For me, North Star means something. What does North Star mean for you, brother?
Well, just reaching goals that you set, and it could be in anything. In this particular case, the North Star is what is it? How do you win the Super Bowl at everything you're doing? You have to recognize, first of all, what is your North? What is important to you? But when you define what is important for you, like for example, I just gave a speech about 10 days ago in Florida, and I worked on that every day among a lot of other things. I handle a lot of different things, sessions and live gigs, and I got another book I'm working on, another book there over there. I got, I mean, it's just endless. I got a wine coming out, a new 40-year anniversary drum coming out. I mean, I just got so many projects going on, and so that speech, the North Star for that speech was that I chose that my North Star is to crush it like I've never done before. So I am practicing, and there's certain parts that I wanted to bring to another level. And my North Star was to give a speech that I've given before,
Hmm.
but at the next level. And I did. But having that in your mind that you have a North Star of where you want to go, then you work your butt off to reach that goal or do the best you can to reach that goal. I have a saying goes, I'll never be as great as I want to be,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I'm willing to spend my entire life trying to be as great as I can be. And I attribute that to like a running back in football. The greatest running backs in football don't get touchdowns every time, but they try play by play, game by game, season by season. Sometimes it's a touchdown, sometimes it's 10 yards, sometimes it's 2 yards, sometimes it's minus 2 yards, sometimes it's a fumble, and sometimes they break their leg. But their North Star always is end zone, end zone, end zone for however many years they are running the ball.
So it's having a vision, owning the vision, really, really going after that goal, like owning it fully, and like serving the bigger audience, of course, to Bill Gates and foundations of people. I got it, brother. Like, who taught you this? So, like, four decades doing this, working with the top bands out there, John Mellencamp, many others. Like, who taught you this work ethic? Was it a relative? Is it something that you practiced at a young age to survive? Like, how did this happen?
Well, it wasn't just one thing. And, there were definitely things that were being told to me as a kid that resonated. But, as a child, you have all kinds of, as a child, you're small, everyone's big. You're told what to do. You hate failure. Well, most people hate to disappoint. And you have all these attributes, to please, you want to fit in, you want to be popular, you want to be successful. You're trying to be an adult. Now, as you get older, you
Hmm.
want to pivot away from those things because they may have served you as a child, but they don't serve you necessarily as much as an adult.
Hmm.
And through that journey from one to the other, and by the way, you never get rid of those things. The point is to recognize those things so that you replace them with new goals, new ideals. For example, instead of being just constantly the pleaser, why don't you be pleasant? And
Hmm.
you will be honoring yourself, and you're not just pleasing people and sacrificing your happiness just to please somebody. And these are very important things to figure out and make that transition from being a child to an adult, and you become more of a team player. Now, along the way, like My uncle told me stuff when I was a kid. There's a story I tell in my speech where it was Thanksgiving. He was a Golden Gloves boxer, fighter pilot in World War II, self-made millionaire, went from zero to millions, had boats and planes, and his family was at my family in Western Mass having Thanksgiving. I wanted to get away from everybody at one point, go up, probably listen to Jimi Hendrix or the Beatles or the Stones on my turntable. I had a big room, and he's doing one-handed push-ups.
Wow.
One-handed push-ups, smoking a cigar, laughing at me, and had scotch on the floor. He goes, "Hey, kid, you know what the most..." No, he said, "Kid, you know what the most valuable thing in life is?" And I'm like confused. I'm like, "I don't know." And I see his very expensive gold watch. I went, "Money, right?" He goes, "No, stupid." He stood up and slugged me in the arm, which, he was a boxer. It was
Yeah.
not,
Painful.
and he says, "Time is the most valuable thing, kid." And
Wow.
without getting into it too much, because I'd seen the Beatles on TV at 10 years old, and I knew at that very second, I was just blown away. I was wowed. I mean, it was electrified. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen at that point in my life. I knew at that very second that my purpose in life is to work with a team of musicians and make music and tour like they are. And without even understanding what the purpose in life meant, I look back and realize, oh, that's what I was doing. It triggered my bliss and my deepest desires and my truth. You call it whatever you want. And the amazing thing about that story is 50 years later, I'm called to do a TV special called The Night That Changed America on CBS, honoring the Beatles for that TV show that I saw at 10.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
get to play with the two remaining Beatles, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr. I mean, if it wasn't true, you'd want to write that into a script.
Right.
But that's what happened. And what happened along the way is what made me successful and stay successful and still relevant. And some of the things that I picked up were like my uncle was trying to tell me, "Look, kid, you dig this drumming thing, man. Don't let anybody get in the way." He was putting time and purpose together. He saw my passion. He related to it because he did the same thing. He related to it and was trying to lay some heavy stuff on me. Now, I didn't know what I mean, I thought he said time is the most valuable thing. I thought go to school, wake up in the morning, do your homework. And then I started thinking, oh man, he's trying to tell me if you want to be a drummer, man, be a drummer. Don't do your thing like he did. And then years later, I realized he was talking about the value of how short our lives are.
Yeah.
And time is the most valuable thing in life. So don't waste your time in this life. I happen to be wired. I want to get the most value out of this life and then move on to whatever's next. I ain't going to sit around and wait for what's next. I got this book. It hasn't out yet, but it was basically, are you living your life loud or are you dying on the vine? Because most people are dying on the vine.
Yeah.
You're not born successful. Success isn't going to land in your lap. It's like a math equation. 0 equals 0. You do nothing, you get nothing. Once you understand that, then you don't ever use the word entitlement. That's BS. I don't know if you're allowed to swear here, but
no, that's all good, brother. Yeah,
it's bullshit, man. There is no entitlement. You go out and be a warrior, be the king. And so I picked that up from my uncle. And then I had a teacher when I went to Indiana University School of Music, #1 school of music in the country for classical music. And I walked in my first lesson without a pencil and eraser, and he gave me an F and told me to F and get out of his room. He said, "Don't you ever show up unprepared for anything." I'll never forget that. It resonated with me. And hence, I always have a pen and a pencil with me. Hence, I can write this stuff out. I always go on stage with a pad, notebook paper, in case one of these famous artists says, "Hey, would you?" I'm not going to remember, so I write it down. So things like that.
Coaches. What I'm present to is that at a young age you're pushed, right, to like really show up powerfully, where it's like wired in your subconscious at a young age. I'm curious though, like, and there's more. I know there's more to this journey. Like over the years, you played with these bands, and bands love to party a lot. Like, how have you avoided veering off course, following North Star, following owning your why, purpose, time, all that stuff, with all the partying going on, and drugs and women, all that? How have you done that? I'm just curious. Have you been consistent?
I mean, I've done it. I've drank. You get a hangover. First of all, I never drink or do anything before any show. Never. No, not even a sip of wine. No way. But afterwards, then I can have fun. So let's say I drink too much wine, I have a hangover, or whiskey, whatever it is. Then I go, whoa, I get back on course. It just reminds me, okay, we're not drinking tonight. Let's get our bodies back into, focus. Or if I'm starting to feel, when I get on the drum set, I start performing, I immediately try to identify how I am physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Immediately. So that I can work with what I've got. An athlete does that too. You understand, oh, okay, you know, maybe I'm getting the flu or whatever it is. So if I drink too much, then I just get back on course very quickly. As far as the women and stuff, yeah, when we were young, my God, the audience was young. We were young. You'd have these all-nighters and stuff, and then you'd get back on course. You go like, okay, I got to get a lot of sleep, or before the show, you take a nap. I'm fully aware of what's going on, and my career is more important than anything in my life. Always has been. So, that's how you just keep everything in check. I
Did,
step back, and as soon as I see that I'm not performing at my ability, I make the correction very quick.
Now, do
So
you
I'm
figure,
having,
are you journaling yourself? Are you figuring this out yourself, like where you're veering off? And or are you talking to someone around you, like, a coach or a friend or a colleague that has you kind of like check in, like holistically, like if you're a bit off, how do you know for yourself? Or is it based on how you're playing? Like basically get the drum set and something's like not like on point, you just recognize that. Like, what is it about? Like, how are you able to course correct in those moments?
I'm the coach and the player, man. I know exactly what's going on.
Mm,
I am the coach and the player, the father and the son
mm,
inside me. So I don't need anybody to point it out. However,
mm,
if somebody I'm playing with starts saying, "Hey, this feels like you're dragging," then I go, why did he say that?
mm.
Then I start examining, did you get enough sleep? You should have gotten more sleep. Maybe you shouldn't have stayed up so late. Whatever. I start examining and I course correct immediately. So, and I have the 8 steps to a healthy life that I can share real quick if
Yeah,
you can.
please.
All
Yeah.
right. 8 steps to a healthy life, Kenny Aronoff. All right, number one, lifting weights. Lifting weights
Mm,
obviously makes you strong and physically fit, which I need to be, but it also elevates your hormone levels, which then elevates your immune system. Number two, the only way to exercise the heart is cardio. Cardio gives you endurance. It also elevates your hormone levels, which keeps your immune system up. Number three, flexibility, stretching, yoga, whatever, which I could be a little better at. So you've got strength, endurance, flexibility. Four is diet, which we won't get into because it's very complex,
mm.
but basically eat healthy. Most of you know that you could eat healthier always. Like,
Yeah.
wake up. Anyway, I could go on forever. Number five is supplements. I take a lot of supplements because I work over hours. I work tons and tons and tons. I've been very, very aware of all the supplements, and the best you can get. And that's a long story there. Number six is water. Your body needs, you can die in 3 days without water. Every organ in your body needs water. And, well, you could live without food for 40 days, but not water. Everything, your brain, everything operates with water. So you should drink half your body weight in ounces. If you're 200 pounds, have 100 ounces of water a day. Number seven, the biggest stress factor, or the biggest thing that can affect your health is stress. So I'm a little bit weak on this, but meditating can be in many, many forms. You don't have to just curl up and, get into a meditation, but you could be reading,
What,
you could be contemplating.
what kind do you do? What's your meditation? What's your process? Is it like transcendental or something different?
I did TM as a kid, but typically I just shut my eyes and focus on one thing, and the goal is to, you know, pass out or either go to sleep or just completely focus on, decompressing and getting all stress out of your body. If you let go, I typically will fall asleep because I push so hard.
Mm,
And then the eighth one is sleep, which I'm not
mm,
great at, but I try to add up. Even I wake up typically after 3 hours, so I just read a little bit and go right back to sleep. Get another 2 hours. Another trick is to go grab a few chips to get some carbohydrates in you.
yeah.
Eventually turns into sugar and will knock you back out. And that's just what I do. But I take a lot of supplements and I drink a lot of coffee, so that could keep me up at night. Take brain food. So I like to. Everything's extreme with me. So
Yeah.
uh, and I'm
I,
wired. I mean, I've had a reading done, and they said all your chakras are complete lit. they're going. You That's why you like to do so many things, because you're wired so hot. And that is another component with all this that we've been talking about is my DNA. I mean, you come into this life with a certain DNA, and my DNA is like a rocket ship with no brakes.
Your DNA is uncommon. We talked about it
Very
earlier.
uncommon.
Yeah, got it. I mean, what I'm aware present to is like you're an athlete. Like the way you show up, the way you play. I mean, whether it's a running back, a quarterback, any game, you're an athlete. Except your game is the drums. Your game is getting on stage and showing up. And someone once told me that when we see ourselves as being athletes on this playing field of life, it makes life a lot easier with managing energy. We'll be able to compress time. I mean, your ability to compress time is like mind blowing to me. And what you've accomplished this past 40 years, what you accomplish in a month would probably like the average person musician might not be able to do in 6 months or a year. I'm guessing based on what I've heard
Could
from
be
that.
because I've learned how to approach it like a Navy SEAL, where I know what my North Star is. And it's like I need to accomplish this on this day. So what do I need to do to accomplish? And like when I'm recording songs, let's say people send me files from all over the world and put drums on their music. So my North Star is to give them a certain kind of product. I know the day I'm recording, I like to have already rehearsed the songs, written everything out, so that I can go right in and do 2 takes or 3. I'm performing. I'm in flow. All the hard work, all the preparation, all the self-discipline and perseverance to get that song ready. Write the chart, rehearse it, which is in one day. I can do that, and then I can now perform when we're recording, which I know makes it sound better. Everything, time, groove, sound, everything perfectly perfect. That's my North Star. So if I'm going to have a day of recording 8 songs, 5 different artists, I prepare knowing that if I'm prepared properly, that I will execute and get the results I want. And that is what I do with everything I do.
Yeah.
So like I did with the Goo Goo Dolls, when I speak, I know where I'm at, and I start amping up. If I feel like it's not meeting the day I need to have this ready, because the next day I fly, I just am constantly time blocking in my mind where I have to be to get those results.
You're constantly practicing. That's the thing. So when you show up, you're able to be in the zone, be in flow state. Well, let's talk about that, Kenny. So what? So when you're playing, so you're at the arena, you're playing with a band, with Goo Goo Dolls recently. What has you stay in the zone? Like, are you feeling with the music? Are you listening to all the other instrumentals, musicians in the background? Like, what has you like know like how to show up and be like Kenny Aronoff, like playing fully, like giving his best, like while you're actually there, like in the game, like playing the set.
Well, I mean, first of all, the 8 steps to being healthy, I'm always in check with that. So when you show up, you're doing the best you can to be as healthy as you can, but sometimes, it doesn't work out. Have a bad night's sleep. We're traveling on buses, planes, cars. Anyway, when I get there, I'll take one example, like with John Fogerty. I was like the MD. I talk to my tech, everything's ready, check the drums, good. Then I start rehearsing the band, and I know there's a process that we go through to get ready for John Fogerty to walk on stage. Get everything dialed out with the engineer, all instruments, all guitars, background vocals, everything. I run that whole thing. Then I ask the front of house guy, are we ready for John? Yes. Are you guys ready? Yes. Bring John on, then we do a whole new process with him. And then we get that all ready. Now, 3 times a day when I'm on tour, I have a 30-minute routine I do to make me sound great. It's a practice routine which involves both my hands and my feet, because when you play, you use both your hands and your feet. I have a practice pad, and I'll do this thing. I could do it in a hotel room. I could do it right now. It's a whole thing. And I do it 30 minutes. If I do this, I call it functional practicing. Functional means every note I'm playing has a purpose to make me sound great today. So I do this before sound check. I do this routine before the show. And sometimes I'll do it 3 in the morning to be warmed up when I wake up. just to do it. And then I've had guys text me 3, 4 in the morning. Kenny, I think you're above me. I hear you pounding on the floor with your feet. I'm like, sorry. So I have
Yeah.
certain things that I do to prepare and to be in line. Now, if I'm tired before a show, I definitely go into a meditation, crush down, I stretch. When I go on stage, I am fully aware of everything. I step out of myself and watch myself play with the band as if I'm the producer. And I'm aware of every note I'm playing. I'm in flow.
Yeah.
I'm in flow, but I'm extremely very aware in case something goes wrong or I look over and I see the artist is not in the same place he was last night. I start making decisions. Do I adapt to him or do I stay where I am and he'll come to me? It's all kinds of decisions I'm making every second I'm on stage. And I look like I'm just loose and just jamming. I'm fully aware of what I'm doing. So I'm kind of like in flow, but at the same time, I'm very aware and detailed I'm very aware of everything that's going on. So if something is serious and something goes wrong or I have to make some adjustments, I can jump into that mode, get it sorted out, and go back into flow. So that's kind of, and so, yeah.
Yeah. 50,000 hours you get there, I'm sure, to be able
Yeah.
to kind of show up that way, be able to hear all of that, adjust. That's amazing, man. Like on this like journey of life. So you've been doing this for 40 years. I'm sure if you can go back in time, a time machine, and talk to your 18 or 21-year-old self, what would you tell that that self? Or maybe in an alternate reality, like a metaverse, what would you tell that version of yourself?
Well, I wouldn't want to get in the way of the process that is
Mm,
natural for a kid at 18 moving into adulthood. What I would say is be more efficient with your time.
mm,
In other words, you can practice 8 hours a day, but how much of it is functional? That's why I came up with the function.
mm,
What are you practicing efficiently? At 18, I didn't have as the North Star was a little more vague.
mm.
It was just show up, practice. If I just show up and I put in 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, I'll get better. That's true. But what is your North Star? Maybe I didn't know what my North Star at that point. I was studying classical music to get into an orchestra because I didn't see how. I mean, when I saw the Beatles at 10 years old on TV, there was no mentor. There was nobody to talk to. There was no manual. How do you get into a rock and roll band? I was lost. It was all very new to me. There wasn't even any internet, so you couldn't watch this stuff on TV. Nobody was posting on TikToks or
There was
Instagram.
cell phones back then either.
Yeah,
Not that.
so I was on my own. So back to purpose and bliss and your deepest desires. I worked my way from the bottom and got into graduated from the number one school of music in the country at the highest honors. Won a concerto competition. Was in the best symphony orchestra. Played in a big band. I mean, and I get into the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra and I turn it down. Why? Why would I turn it down?
Mm,
That was the goal. Parents invested all this money, the American dream. You get an education, you study, you work towards something, you get a job in that field that you worked at. I did. I turned it down. Why I turned it down was because thank God, was following my heart.
mm.
Because, words are just ideas, but feelings are the truth. I wanted to still be in a rock and roll band. And everybody was in total shock when I turned it down. And it took me 4 years of hard work living on nothing, struggling until I got my first big break at 27, with John Mellencamp. And that wasn't an easy thing. I got fired after 5 weeks making the first record because I didn't have enough experience. And a very, very life changing moment happened when John told me, excuse me, to go home. You're not playing on the record. And I said, no way am I going home. I used other words, by the way, but I said, there's no way I'm friggin' going home. And I mean, what was happening at that moment was one, I was devastated. I felt like a loser, overwhelmed, sad, like they're taking away my bliss, my purpose.
Right.
And the other thing was happening, I got into a fight or fight mode, and
Mm,
I went, no way. I am not doing this. I'm staying here. I told that to John, and I also said, am I still your drummer or what? I was very confrontational.
right.
And he was kind of shocked, and the band was like, whoa. That's
Who
like
is this
telling,
guy?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like saying, you're fired. And you go, no, I'm not. No, you're fired. No, I'm not. What don't you understand with the words? You're fired. Get your stuff and go. And I was saying no. And I said, listen, am I still your drummer? And he went, well, yeah, but you're not playing on the record. He said, and I'm fumbling, just totally fumbling. I'm going, well, I'm going to go in the studio and watch those other drummers play my drum parts on your record. And I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to learn a lot, and that's going to benefit me. And that'll benefit you because I'm your drummer, right? Didn't say a word. I'm like, shit. I went, okay, you don't have to pay me. I'll sleep on the couch. And he went, okay. And I did learn.
Awesome.
And the biggest
Yeah.
thing I did learn,
Yeah.
besides the actual skill set of drumming,
Hmm.
is it ain't about me,
Hmm.
the individual. It's about we, the
Hmm.
team. To be great at something, it's all about you. It's all about you. How do I sound? How do I look? Me, me, me. But to be Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl winner, or any great athlete, they figure out it ain't about you. It's about the team,
Right.
everybody. So I had to learn how to serve his song, be the drummer for his music, be the drummer in his band, serve the other musicians, serve the producer, the engineer, serve everybody, serve me, serve you, serve everyone. And the end game, which finally hit me, was like, oh, my purpose is to get his song on the radio to be a #1 hit. You ask a drummer, what's your purpose in the recording studio? They will never say that. I figured that out. And 2 years later, I'm on John Cougar Mellencamp's biggest #1 hit single ever, Jack and Diane, featuring me. And in the process, that song wasn't even going to be on the record. I had to come up with programming a drum machine and coming up with this big drum solo on the spot or lose my job again. And
Incredible.
so I reached my goal, the biggest purpose as a drummer making a record in 2 years. That's such a great and when I did reach that goal and it became #1, I was excited for 2 seconds. And that's my DNA. I went, I'm not #1. I need to do it again.
Yeah.
Well, he
Wow.
hasn't written the song yet. I need to do it again. It's like a running back. One touchdown doesn't mean you're successful for life. It means you want that one touchdown. So I immediately was like, I got to do this again. I got to do this again. And I've never lost that edge.
What do you attribute to keeping your ego in check that way? So some people look at their ego up there and they're like #1 and like they win the lottery one time and within $20 million and within 3 years most lottery winners
Yeah.
are broke. So how do you what's happening inside of you that keeps your ego in check to keep driving toward excellence again and again and again and again? What's doing that for you, brother? And of course, you mentioned something so far, that journey, your uncle, this, the 8 steps of health. But what else is there internally that's causing you to like break out of ego, where in so many other, arenas, musicians, bands, ego basically like conquerors in a lot of ways. What is it for you?
Honesty.
Hmm.
The not number 11th commandment. Not that I looked at commandments, but if there was one, it's this. Thou shalt not bullshit yourself. Honesty. I can hear, up, that wasn't right, up, that wasn't right, up, that's not right. I'm never satisfied. I can always be better. I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'll spend my entire life trying.
Hmm.
That's what it is. It's honest. I'm humbled by the things that don't work out the way I want them. I have high goals, and I hear when things are not working out the way I want them. By the way, I'm avoiding saying 2 words that I don't use anymore out of my vocabulary: mistakes and failures. Those are
Hmm.
negative words. When you say them,
Hmm.
it triggers when you were a little kid and your dad or your teachers or your coaches or your priest or whatever is in your face, or your older brothers, and you feel like a loser. I was with a 7 times bestseller having dinner, and he asked me a very, very deep question. I answered, and his head went down. He said, I've had many failures and many mistakes. And I looked and I went, no, and I slugged him in the arm. I said, no, man, there are no failures or mistakes. They're just events that got you where you are and keeping you going. And that's when I said to myself, that was a takeaway for me. That was a gift. And I suddenly went, wow, step back and look what just happened, Kenny.
Hmm.
That's great. You learned a lesson from him doing that, and you slug him in the arm. I went, Never use that again. So if something doesn't work out the way you want it, I call it that because
Awesome.
it leaves room for
Yeah.
possibility. It's like if you tell somebody, you're a loser. Even when I say that, I can feel loser. But I
Yeah.
say, man, I love you, man. You're beautiful, man. I'm right now feeling excited using those words. They literally affect, your feelings. So if I'm saying it just to nobody right now, and I'm feeling that. So when you say, oh man, you effing up, you go down, you feel it, all the memories of failure. No, no, no. I just said, dude, you got this, man. You got this. It hasn't worked out, but you'll get it. You always do, Kenny, or 99% of the time. So let's go. And that's how I do it. So the
Man.
ego, easy to keep in check. Oh my
So
God.
what's your next book? I know your last book was 2016. What's your next book about? I know you're also out there in the speaking circuit, coaching organizations. Like, tell us about that too as well.
Well, I mean, the first book was called Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll. It's an autobiography about a kid, that became successful and has stayed successful for over 4 decades and still relevant and going strong in one of the most difficult businesses in the world, the music business. And so, even though it's got great stories in it, and I deal with all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's basically about being successful and staying successful, always bringing your A game, giving 150% or die trying. That's what that book's about. The next book is that I wrote really actually 5 or 6 years ago that I'm kind of revisiting is about don't be lazy,
Hmm.
don't be entitled. Like I said, are you living your life loud? Or are you dying on the vine? I
Hmm.
mean, not that everybody's got the same opportunities, but you need to do the best that you can. Are you doing the best you can at where you are at in your life? Is there something more you can do? I mean, I'll go down as there's different. Obviously, people have different circumstances in life,
Yeah.
but you have to. I look at it as you got to do the best you can, and that's what I address. And that book, I'm going to try to. I stopped it. I finished it, edited it, and I decided I want to have more of the elements that I talk about in my speaking,
Yeah.
which is teamwork, leadership, uh,
And, and
communication skills, like being able to
and
connect. Go ahead.
and being uncommon. I mean, the theme to your life. You showed me your tattoo earlier before we started this. Being uncommon. I mean, your wine
Well, that's
being uncommon.
being true to yourself. Being uncommon is being who you are because nobody is you.
Hmm.
Nobody's you. You just, everybody is born with a unique upbringing. Everyone has a different backstory of who and where they grew up, their relationships, their educational experiences, their life experiences. And everyone looks through their own unique lens at the world they live in. I mean, it's just going to be different. So, therefore, everyone has a unique thing about them. They have their own unique creativity and innovation and, something to contribute to the world. So, this is what you want to tap into. And these are some of the elements that I want to add into the book, and also a thing called the 3 C's. Like I don't work for one corporation. I work for many. I'll
Hmm.
give you a scene. Monday, this was like in the 90s, BB King, Bonnie Raitt. Each one of those people, Bonnie Raitt and BB King, are two ecosystems, two different worlds, two different managements, audiences. Already that's something. Tuesday, Wednesday, Elton John, completely different ecosystem, a different world, a different whole lifestyle, different everything. Thursday through Sunday, Bob Seger from Detroit, one of the biggest arena stadium rock and roll artists ever. Then I fly to Atlanta from LA, and now I'm with the Indigo Girls, which is more folk music. They've never had a drummer on their record, whole different lifestyle. Then after a week, I fly back to LA. I land and it's Willie Nelson, one of the greatest country artists ever. And then 4 more days with Seeger, 2 weeks with John Bon Jovi. Now, every single one of those artists is a different corporation, is a different ecosystem.
Right.
My ability to connect with each one of them and then
Hmm.
communicate
Hmm.
on a very personal, truthful level. I want them to like me. They want me to like them.
Yeah.
And that skill to be able to do that with each group is just as important as your talent. You cannot, you can be successful with your talent, but you can be super successful when you have great skill sets with communicating, connecting, communicating, and collaborating.
Yeah.
And so these things I want to put in, and then the adapting, and adjusting to stay relevant in any business, period. Stuff's changing so fast
Yeah.
now. And then, of course, the big jewel, you realize your purpose in life.
So you are the master of the pivot, my friend. I mean, being able to do that, different bands each day of the week, different styles, all the different ecosystems you mentioned. That's extraordinary. What would you tell someone this day and age where there's like so much noise out there, so many different options out there? I mean, you were focused, you were immersed. What would you tell someone these days as they're going through life, trying to figure out their purpose?
That is a very challenging thing because, if you don't have your purpose or you don't know what it is, how do you find it? And like I said, it's not up here. It's got to resonate in your heart. It's got to resonate in your feeling center. And it's just like when you were a little kid, somebody said, "What do you want to do when you grow up, Johnny?" "I want to be a football player, or I want to be a dentist, or I want to be a whatever." That kid was excited. That's what you want to tap into. And you start writing things down on a piece of paper, things that make you feel good, feelings, and then maybe occupations and careers. You start sorting it out, and you start, figuring out, you start to narrow it down to what it is that makes you feel good. And then you got to go after it. You got to go after it. You got one step at a time, you know, one step at a time. But if you do nothing, you get nothing.
Amazing advice, Kenny. Awesome. Awesome. I really appreciate this. For our members or audience, go to rulesforsuccess.com, access this interview, access the mind map summary of this interview as well. Kenny, you've been generous with your time here. And I just want to, I'm just excited for you, like this journey, like half your life, another next half of your life, what's next, especially as you're, driving forward and speaking and working with organizations and just doing more of what you love. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, rulesforsuccess.com. To access Kenny further, go to kennyaronoff.com. That's ARONOFF.com. Follow him on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media. This has been a joy. This has been really awesome.
All right, man. Well, very, very good. And see you, everybody.